as Swami Ranganathanandaji, the 13th president of the Ramakrishna order, he says it is a big change from the subjection of a freedom from being a prajna or a subject to the citizenship, but it is unfortunate that we did not understand its implication or appreciate its significance, and we failed to undertake sustained energetic step to assimilate the beauty and the strength of this citizenship concept and the values. So Swamiji further says, in our Indian context, at least, therefore, we have to introduce the new term, namely enlightened citizenship, making a distinction between the mere political adult citizenship. So in this regard, before going to the talk, I recognize the divine presence of Pujya Swami Ekagamyanandaji Maharaj. So I heartily welcome Pujya Swami Ekagamyanandaji Maharaj for this August gathering. So let us move further. So now today's speaker, Dr. R. Balasubramaniam Sir, is widely respected development activist and a leadership trainer, thinker, and a writer. Presently is serving as a member HR Capacity Building Commission, and he's also a founder of Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement, is about to address all of us on the topic Enlightened Citizenship and the lights of Swami Vivekananda. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Ellarigu namaskara. Can you all hear me, Ranjan?
Yes, sir. Very much audible. Yes.
So it's a happy occasion that today we are discussing something as important as enlightened citizenship. My way of looking at it is this discussion should happen possibly in every university, every education institution. ಬಹಳ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭ ಯಾತಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿ 75ನೇ ವರ್ಷದ ಒಂದು ವಾರ್ಷಿಕ ಒಂದು ಸಂಭ್ರಮವಾಗಿ ಕೊಂಡಾಡುವಂತ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಗಳು ನಡೀತಿರುವಂತ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರಿ ಒಂದು ಕೇವಲ ಪ್ರಜೆಯಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಜ್ಞಾನವನ್ನ ಪಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪ್ರಜೆಯಾಗಿ ನಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಹೇಗೆ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೇರಿದ್ದೇವೆ. Possibly I'll take maybe 20-30 minutes to explain and then the program will go on. Why are we even adding the adjective of enlightened to the word citizenship? Very understanding of citizenship itself should possibly tell us citizenship itself has to be enlightened. How else can it be? But unfortunately, because society doesn't recognize and understand citizenship in an enlightened manner, we are forced to say, ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಪ್ರಪಂಚ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯ ಪ್ರಪಂಚ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾರಾದರೂ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಧೀಶರನ್ನ ಪರಿಚಯಿಸುವಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭ ಬಂದಾಗ ನಾನು ಹಲವಾರು ಕಡೆ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಹೆಸರು ಪಡೆದಂತ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಧೀಶರು ಇವರು ಬಹಳ ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕವಾಗಿ ಅವರ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಗಳನ್ನ ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತಲೇ ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸಂಕಟ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಧೀಶರಾಗಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಧೀಶರಾಗಿದ್ದ ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕರಾಗಿ ಇರ್ಲೇಬೇಕು. ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಅವರ ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕತೆಯ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡುವಂತ ಅಗತ್ಯವೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ಗಿವನ್. But today's society has become so polluted, we are expected to clarify and adjectivize people with all these things. So in that context, 75 years down the line, after our so-called political freedom from the British, it is important that we are able to distinguish citizenship from enlightened citizenship. And to me especially, this is a year where we just not only celebrate our 75 years of freedom, but we at least begin the understanding of Swami Vivekananda and his appreciation of what does it mean to have this nationalistic spirit, a spirit to serve this great nation of ours. So I just want to go back to 1947. How much of celebration must have been there in people's minds? How much of joy and happiness people have enjoyed to say that finally they are free. But that being said, we also need to keep in mind, would people have really understood what does it mean to be free? ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಕೊಂಡಾಡುವಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು 2 ಕ್ಷಣ ನಿಂತು ನಮ್ಮನ್ನೇ ನಾವು ಆಲೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡುವಂತದ್ದು ಅಥವಾ introspect ಮಾಡುವಂತದ್ದು, we may not do that because it's a moment of celebration. There is not, the joy is so much that it doesn't even sink in that we're actually free. Even to understand what does freedom mean. And remember, a nation where the British saw us as mere subjects, people who are subjected to their rules and regulations, where they saw us as recipients of their largesse, their welfare, or ನಮಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತ ಭಿಕ್ಷೆಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಬದುಕ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಭ್ರಮೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರವನ್ನ ಆಳದಂತವರು ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯವನ್ನ ಕೊಡುತ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ವಿನಃ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯವನ್ನ ಪಡ್ಕೊಂತ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ ಅಂತ ಭಾವನೆಯನ್ನ ಮೂಡಲಿಲ್ಲ ಆಗಲಿ ಕೂಡ. ನಮಗೆ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಹೋದ್ರು ಅಂತೀವಿ. What a wrong way of explaining the freedom. I think the time has come for us to tell the world nobody gave us freedom. We took what was rightfully ours. From that understanding begins the understanding of enlightenment that I'm going to share with you. And what do I mean by that? What do I understand? And why is it even important for us to see this? From the lens of Swami Vivekananda, not from a political view, not from a socio-economic lens of freedom, but from the understanding of Swamiji and his message, and what might have he, through his message, communicated to us. Obviously, between 1893 and 1902, when he was the peak of what we could call his professional glory, he would not be telling us that this is how an independent India would look like and this is what citizenship in that context would be. But deeply embedded in his message are the preparatory understanding of what it would mean if we had to take on the responsibility of molding and growing and taking care of our own nation ourselves. So I will go back to Swamiji and pick 7 or 8 messages. If we live it, if we have the courage to live it, then citizenship automatically becomes enlightened. What is embedded in the understanding of citizenship today is a mere constitutional understanding. A constitutional understanding at least tells us about 2 critical things. One is what are our entitlements as a citizen. As a citizen of a free country called India, what does that freedom mean to us? And what is the freedom guaranteed to us in the Indian Constitution? That's a very simplistic political understanding of citizenship. You can hold on to your passport and say, I'm a citizen of India. You can say, I have an identity bestowed on me because my name is the National Population Register, or I have an Aadhaar card, whatever way we describe our sense of allegiance to the sovereign nation. But the Constitution can only state things. It cannot create an ecosystem of feeling things. So it says you are entitled to a certain amount of rights as a citizen, but it also says you have some duties to perform as a citizen to the country. Nothing comes free. You give something and the nation gives you something. That's a very simplistic appreciation of citizenship. ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಗಳನ್ನ ಪೂರೈಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತೇನೆ, ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಿಂದ ಬರಬೇಕಾಗಿದ್ದ ನನ್ನ ಹಕ್ಕುಗಳನ್ನ ನಾನು ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಜನ ನನಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು ಉಂಟು, ತುಂಬಾ ಜನ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ದೇಶ ನನಗೇನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ, ನಾನು 20 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಕಂದಾಯ ಕಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ನನಗೇನ್ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದೆ. ಈ ತರದ ಭಾವನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋರು ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನಲ್ ಆಗಿ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್ ನ. ಐ ಡೂ ಮೈ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ, therefore I should get my rights, or I don't get my rights, so therefore I will not do my duty. So there, it's a very narrow interpretation of citizenship, and it's extremely far away from the way Vivekananda conceived the whole understanding of nation, the state, and the role of the citizen. So what is the differentiation that Swami says, which actually enables us to see ourselves as enlightened? Enlightened not in a larger absolute perspective of, our elevating ourselves to the level of moksha and saying I'm enlightened. I'm talking about in a very practical way. If you go deep into the message of Swamiji, 2 things will stand out extraordinarily clear and in a very powerfully emphatic way. One is Swamiji's life and message revolved around this enormous humanism that he had, this extraordinary concern for the welfare of society in a comprehensive, integral way, not in a narrow way of saying Indians, Americans, Europeans, or the British, but in a very absolutely expansive way of humanity, which included everything that is embedded in it, not just human beings, the entire possible creation of the Lord itself. This extraordinary message of humanism is the foundation of our understanding of citizenship from Swami Vivekananda's lens. But it is not just humanism. Swamiji's powerful message, and the reason it resonates with us today and makes it so very practical, is his everything he described had this enormous power of intellectualism. So whatever message you take of Swamiji, on one side you can feel emotionally stimulated, inspired, and charged up. And that is what his power, his charisma can tell you. But deep inside, if you scratch the surface, you will see the enormity of intellectual power that he had. And so, enlightenment is a combination of this humanism and intellectualism that Swamiji stood for. And the way he describes it is what I would like to see in every one of us as people of this great nation of ours. The message of what converts a citizen to an enlightened citizen. For a simple, saralavadanಥ formula Swamiji ತಗೋಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ, extraordinary understanding of love. A love which is all expansive, a love which is inclusive, a love which went beyond any one person or one family or one set of people that we are related to. ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಜನಗಳನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಸ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ಜಾತಿಯವ್ರನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಸ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ. ಜಾತಿ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ಇಡೀ ಪ್ರಪಂಚ, ಇಡೀ ವ್ಯವಹಾರ ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೀತಿರುವಂತಹ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಯಿಂದ ಹಿಡಿದು ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸತ್ ಸದಸ್ಯರವರೆಗೂ ಜಾತಿಯನ್ನ ನೋಡಿ ನಾವು ಕೊಂಡಾಡುವಂತ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಕೇವಲ ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್, ಅದು ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಂಡ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಪವಿತ್ರವಾದಂತ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಅರ್ಥಕೋಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆ ವಿಶಾಲವಾದಂತ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸವನ್ನ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸುವಂತ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಆ ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಂಟ್ ಶುರುವಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಒಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಜ್ಞಾನದ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. That is the beginning of that process that Swamiji said. How can you not love everybody? Very simple. You know, to hate was equivalent to sin for Swamiji. He said, how can you call anybody a sinner even? Right? We're all same. We're all these extraordinary embodiments of the divine. And that is where it begins. And Swamiji's message of inclusion and love comes from a very simple understanding. It is Shivajnane Jiva Seva ಅನ್ನೋ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದಂತ ಒಂದು ವಾಕ್ಯದ ಅರ್ಥದಿಂದ ಶುರುವಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಂಡ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್. ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಕಂದಾಯ ಕಟ್ಟುವುದು ಕೇವಲ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಅಂತ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಅಂತ ಆದರೆ, ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬದುಕಿ ಬರುವಂತ ಪ್ರತಿ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ, ಪ್ರಜೆ, ಒಂದು ನಾಯಿ ಕೂಡ, ಯಾಕೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಪದಾರ್ಥ, ಯಾವುದೇ ಪ್ರಾಣಿ ಆಗಿರಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ್ದು, ಅದು ನನ್ನದು, ಅದ್ರ ಒಳಗಿರೋ ದಿವ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನ ಕೊಂಡಾಡುವಂತ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದರ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ನನ್ನ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆ. ನನ್ನ ಒಳಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ದಿವ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನ ಬಿಡಿ, ಅದರ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವದಲ್ಲಿ, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಪಶು ಪಕ್ಷಿಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವವನ್ನು, ಆ ಒಂದು ದಿವ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನು ಕಂಡು ಹೋದಾಗಂತ ಶುರುವಾದ ಆದರೆ ಅದು ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಂಡ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್. That is the next level of it, expanding our love to express itself in the recognition that every creature is embodied with that divinity. And enlightening myself with that knowledge as a lived experience, not as an intellectual statement, but as a lived experience, is a transitioning of an ordinary man from a citizen to an extraordinary element called an enlightened citizen. And Swamiji gave a very simple formula for this expression. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಕೇವಲ ಭಾವನೆ ಸಾಲದು, ಭಾವನೆಗಳು ಶುರುವಾದ. ಬಟ್ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ನೋಡಿ, ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಆದರ್ಶಗಳಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಹಾಕೋಬೇಕಾಗಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಐಡಿಯಲ್ಸ್ he says. And he says in the context of enlightened citizenship, ordinary citizen only sees rights and duties. But Swamiji converted the very concept with an extraordinary thinking of seva ಮತ್ತು ತ್ಯಾಗ. Seva not from a very limited understanding of helping somebody. ನಾನು ರಾಸ್ತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಒಬ್ಬನಿಗೆ ಹಸಿದು ಕುಳಿತಿರ್ತಾನೆ, ಅವನಿಗೆ 10 ರೂಪಾಯಿನೋ 2 ಬಾಳೆನೋ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದನ್ನ ನಾನು ಸೇವೆ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥೈಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಯಾವಾಗ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಬಾಳೆ ಕೊಡುವಾಗ ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡದೆ ಅಂತ ಭಾವನೆ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಸೇವೆ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಅವನ ಒಳಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ದಿವ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನ ಪೂಜಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಗುರುತಿಸಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಕೊಂಡಾಡುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡೆ ನಾನು. In recognition of that divinity within the individual, I considered myself privileged that I could even have an opportunity to recognize that divinity. And if I do it in that spirit, that is the real spirit of service. And what an extraordinary and powerful message of inclusion that Swamiji gave us in this one simple word. He never used the word help. He never ಸಹಾಯ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪದವನ್ನು ಬಳಸಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಅವರು ಸೇವೆ ಅಂತ ಬಳಸಿದ್ರು. ಸಹಾಯಕ್ಕೂ ಸೇವೆಗಿರೋ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇದು. ನಾನು ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನ ನೋಡಿ ಅವನಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗಿಂತ ಬೇರೆ ಅವನು ಒಂದು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ಗುರುತಿಸಿ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ನಾನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಸಣ್ಣದಾಗಿ ಸಹಾಯ ಅಂತ ಕರೀಬಹುದು. ಆದ್ರೆ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಒಳಗಿರೋ ದಿವ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನ ಗುರುತಿಸಿ, ಆ ದಿವ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನ ಗುರುತಿಸೋ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಆ ದಿವ್ಯತೆ ನನಗೊಂದು ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ಯಲ್ಲ ಅದನ್ನು ಗುರುತಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, seeing myself privileged that I had the opportunity to recognize the divinity and serve the divinity there, that is the spirit of service. ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಯಾವ ಸಿವಿಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಈ ತರದ ಕಲ್ಪನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಭಾರತೀಯ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರ ಈ ತರ ಕಲ್ಪನೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಪದದ ಅರ್ಥದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೊಂದು ಆದರ್ಶವಾಗಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಂತ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದರು ನಮಗೆ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಇಂದ ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಡ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಮಾರ್ಗಸೂಚಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರುವಂತದ್ದು. ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಲಭ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ನಾನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಅಹಂಕಾರ ನನಗೂ ಬಂದಿದ್ದು. ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ, ಹೆಂಗ ಹುಳ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿತ್ತು, ಅವ್ರು ವಾರ್ನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತ್ಯಾಗನ ಪದವನ್ನ ಬಳಸ್ತಾರೆ. ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದರ ಸಂದೇಶವನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥೈಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಂತೆ, ಈಗಲೂ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನದಲ್ಲೇ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಒಂದು ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಐ ಥಾಟ್ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ವಾಸ್ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಸ್ಯಾಕ್ರಿಫೈಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಫ್ ಗಿವಿಂಗ್ ಅಪ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಲಕ್ಸುರೀಸ್. ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕಾಡಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ತ್ಯಾಗಿಸಿ ಸಾಧಾರಣ ಜನಗಳಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆಗಳು ಬೇಕು, ನಮಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಬಟ್ಟೆ ಗಿಟ್ಟೆ, ಆಹಾರ, ಮನೆ, ಕುರ್ಚಿ, ಅಂತಸ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕಾಟದಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ತ್ಯಾಗಿಸಿ ಕಾಡಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಕೂತ್ರೆ ಅದೇ ತ್ಯಾಗ ಅಂತ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಬಹಳ ದಿನಗಳನ್ನು ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಬಹುಶಃ ಅದು ತ್ಯಾಗದ ಅರ್ಥವನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. ಶಾರೀರಿಕ ಸಂತೋಷಗಳನ್ನು ತ್ಯಾಗಿಸುವುದು ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತ್ಯಾಗವೇ, ಅದು ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಡ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಗೆ ತ್ಯಾಗ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ went a step deeper and he said, don't even see serving society as giving up something. It is giving up the identity of I am doing it, giving up the identity of I, the person, Balu, doing it for others. That ಅದನ್ನ ತ್ಯಾಗಿಸುವಂತ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ನಿಜವಾದ ತ್ಯಾಗ. ಶಾರೀರಿಕ ಸಂತೋಷ, ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಸಂತೋಷ, ಭಾವನಾತ್ಮಕ ಸಂತೋಷಗಳನ್ನ ತ್ಯಾಗಿಸುವುದು ಒಂದರ್ಥದಲ್ಲಿ ತ್ಯಾಗವೇ ಆದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ತ್ಯಾಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ತ್ಯಾಗಿಸುವುದೇ ನಿಜವಾದ ತ್ಯಾಗ. ಸೊ ಈ ಅರ್ಥದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಜನಸಾಮಾನ್ಯರನ್ನ ಗುರುತಿಸಿ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿರೋ ದಿವ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಂಡಾಡುವಂತ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನದಲ್ಲಿ ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಭಾರತೀಯರನ್ನ ದಿವ್ಯ ಸ್ವರೂಪದ ಒಂದು ಚಿಹ್ನೆ ಅಂತ ಗುರುತಿಸಿ ಅವರನ್ನ ಸೇವಿಸುವಂತ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನ್ ಸೇವೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅನ್ನೋ ಅರ್ಥದನ್ನ ಹೊರತುಪಡಿಸಿ, ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸೆಂಡಿಂಗ್ ದ ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿ ದಟ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ಮೈ ಫೆಲೋ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಸ್, but seeing it as an opportunity provided to me to express my outer, the manifestation of my inner potential for the sake of the others as a worship of the divinity inside them, without the feeling that I am doing it. That is the Tyaga Swamiji spoke about. And look at the beautiful preparation Swamiji asked us to do. He starts off asking us to say that we can build a great nation. All of it is important. Rastegalu, ರೋಡ್ಗಳು, ಟಾಯ್ಲೆಟ್ಗಳು, ಏರ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ಗಳು, ಸ್ವಚ್ಛವಾದಂತ ನಗರಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಅಗತ್ಯವಾಗಿರ್ಲೇಬೇಕು. ಅದನ್ನು ಎಷ್ಟು ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ನಾವು ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಆ ಎನ್ಲೈಟನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಪಾತ್ವೇ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ರು ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಕೆ. ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ನೋಡಿ, ಏನೂ ಮಾಡದೆ ಹೋದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಹಂತದ ನೀವು ಆ ಎನ್ಲೈಟನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ನೋಡಿ. ಎನ್ಲೈಟನ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ವಿಲ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಆಪರೇಟ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ three things. And Swamiji said it so beautifully. He said the first process of this enlightenment is an enormous amount of emotive expression, emotion of feeling, the heart to feel, in Swamiji's own words. See the power he says, because citizenship itself is an emotive thing, which, like I said, not described in a constitution. And that is why we need to personify that emotion through expression for society. And Swamiji says it so beautifully and says the power to feel, the heart to feel. Feel, my children, feel. Feel for the poor, the marginalized, the downtrodden. Feel till your heart bursts and your mind reaches anything will fall down dead ಅಂತ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ. ಅಷ್ಟು ಆಳವಾದ ಭಾವನೆಯನ್ನು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸುವಂತ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವವಾಗಿರ್ಬೇಕು ನಮ್ದು. ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ, ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ, ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲ ಕಾಣುವಂತ ಅನ್ಯಾಯಗಳಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಅದರ ಭಾವನೆಯನ್ನು ಕರಿಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಭಾವಿಸುವುದು ಪ್ರಾಯಶಃ ಸುಮಾರು ಪ್ರಜೆಗಳು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಎನ್ಲೈಟನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಟಾಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಹೆಡ್ಜ್, ದ ಹೆಡ್ ಟು ಥಿಂಕ್. And that is where I said the intellectual expression of Swamiji. We have to strategize. Merely being motivated to work for India is the beginning of the expression of enlightened citizenship. But going beyond it and starting to think and strategizing, what can I do for this country to solve this problem that I'm so strongly emoting about? What can I do that where I express this feeling into a practical action plan for which I must prepare myself. I must become the best possible expression of that. Adikoskarane Shikshana Kashnatva Koto Swamiji, because he saw education as an expression where the inner ability of ours, what is hidden and embedded within us, that extraordinary power and potential actually gets expressed. And that is the enabler of that ability for us to cogitate and ask us, how can I express this emotion through a proper action plan? So ಆಲೋಚಿಸಿ ಒಂದು ಅರ್ಥವಾದಂತ ಒಂದು ದಾರಿಯನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕೊಂಡು, ಒಬ್ಬ ವೈದ್ಯನಾಗ್ಬೋದು ನಾನು, ಒಬ್ಬ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು ನಾನು, ವೈದ್ಯನಾಗಿ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಈ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬದುಕಿ ಬರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇವೆಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಆಲೋಚಿಸುವಂತ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಹೆಡ್ ಟು ಥಿಂಕ್. And then expressing it is as concrete action, the hands to work, that Swamiji said. Now, this evolution from emoting, feeling strongly about this Mother India of ours, and then asking ourselves, well, how am I qualified to take care of this mother? What is my ability? How can I build my ability? How do I constantly learn and keeping myself growing in this manner? That is exactly where we have to learn from Guru Maharaj. What he said so beautifully, as long as I live, so long do I learn. That is an extremely important foundation for enlightened citizenship, because the nation's problems are evolving all the time. What is there today may not be tomorrow. And we cannot say, I'm incapable of taking care of the problems today. In Swamiji's understanding, building the capacity to build ourselves to take care of the problems of tomorrow is that ability of the head to think, and then going and doing it ourselves. So if you look at Swamiji's message, from the understanding of his extraordinary love, from the understanding of his inclusivity that he spoke about, from the understanding of his expansiveness that he explained to us, from his understanding of starting our life, from looking at society with enormous emotion, loving it extraordinarily, and then asking ourselves, what can this love express itself as? Building our skills and abilities and telling ourselves, I'm preparing myself for this extraordinary journey, and transacting that ability for societal good without the feeling that I am doing it, sacrificing that sense of I am doing it. That is the power of the national ideals he spoke about, Seva and Tyaga. So embedded in the concept of citizenship is only a state. But if you understand Swamiji, there is self, society, and state. The self, which discovers its inner power, which manifests that inner power through outer expression of seva, without the attachment of mind, and looks constantly at societal improvement, where it embraces everything around us as my society. And when I live that life, I build an extraordinary nation, the very powerful message to the whole world. And that is the message of Jagat Guru that Swamiji spoke about, that we should give to the world. This new way of understanding citizenship itself. Citizenship which goes beyond the selfish appreciation of myself. Because in ordinary citizenship, I may start thinking, I am free. I am free to do whatever I want. I am free to agitate. I am free to protest. which is true. That is citizenship. It gives me the constitutional mandate to say, I disagree with you. I'm dissenting. That is what democracy is all about. But enlightenment is an expression of that dissent without harming anybody else. That is enlightenment. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾನು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಕಾನೂನಾಗ್ಲಿ, ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳಾಗ್ಲಿ, ಅದು ನನಗೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಒಪ್ಪದೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ವಿರೋಧಿಸುವಂತ ಹಕ್ಕು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಪ್ರಜೆಯಾಗಿ ನನಗಿದೆ. ಸಂವಿಧಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಆ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ವಿರೋಧಿಸುವಂತ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಬಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಸುಟ್ಟಾಕದ್ದು, ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಲ್ಲು ಹೊಡೆಯುವುದು, ರಸ್ತೆಯನ್ನ ತಡೆಯುವುದು, ಅದು ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಂಡ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫಿಶ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್. Swamiji's understanding of selflessness is always asking myself, how can I take care of the other? If what I am doing is not just not taking care of the other, but is troubling the other, how can it be selflessness then? So transcending this understanding of selfishness to actually becoming selfless is this process of enlightenment that Swamiji wanted us all to understand. So citizenship, in the pursuit of just the self and my happiness, ನಂದು ನನಗೆ, ಈ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ನನಗೇನ್ ಕೊಡತ್ತೆ, ನಾನು ಅದರಿಂದ ಏನ್ ತಗೋಬಹುದು, ಪಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು, ಈ ವಾತಾವರಣದಿಂದ ನಾನೇನೇನು ಕಿತ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ, ನನ್ನ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ, ನನ್ನ ಹಕ್ಕು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಭಾವಿಸ್ತಾ ಹೋದ್ರೆ, ಅದು ಕೇವಲ ವೆರಿ ನ್ಯಾರೋ ಇಂಟರ್ಪ್ರಿಟೇಷನ್. ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀಲಿಕ್ಕೂ ಅಸಹ್ಯ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. ಆದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಪಡ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಿರೋದು, ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲಗಳನ್ನು ನಂದು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಗುರುತಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನು ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಿರೋದು, ಇದು ಒಂದು ಪವಿತ್ರವಾದ ಅವಕಾಶ. ಸೊ ಬಟ್ ಅದು ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಅಂತ ಕೆಲವರು ಕೇಳಬಹುದು, ಅದರ ಜೀವಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯವ ಅಂತ. ಸರಳವಾಗಿ ಜೀವಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ. ಅವ್ರೇನು ನಿನ್ನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀನ್ ನೋಡ್ಕೋಬೇಡ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಖಾಲಿ ಹೊಟ್ಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಭಗವದ್ಗೀತೆ ಬೋಧಿಸ್ಬೇಡಿ, ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದರೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಅದು ನಮಗೂ ಅನ್ವಯಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಕೇವಲ ಹೊರಗಡೆಯವರಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಖಾಲಿ ಹೊಟ್ಟೆ ಅಂತಲ್ಲ, ನಾವು ಖಾಲಿ ಹೊಟ್ಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬೋಧಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಯುವಕರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋ ಸಂದೇಶ ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನೂ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕಾಡಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ನಮ್ ತರ ಹೋಗಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇವೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಅನ್ನೋ ಸಂದೇಶ ಕೊಟ್ರಿ ಯಾರು ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಗೇನ್ಸ್ ವೈಲ್ ಎನ್ಶೋರಿಂಗ್ ಎನಾರ್ಮಸ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಗುಡ್. ಸೊ ನಾನು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರ್ಬೇಕು, ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣವನ್ನ ಪಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ನಾನು ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಯಾವುದೇ ತೊಂದರೆ ಬೇರೆಯವರು ಕೊಡದೆ ನನ್ನ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಗಳನ್ನು ಪೂರೈಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಏನೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನಂತರ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸದೆ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಂತ ಏನ್ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, express it as public good for people. That is the real expression of selflessness, Swami said. And the way process it evolves is, the first step of understanding this is, as a citizen, I must understand what is my role. ಈ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಪಾತ್ರ ಏನು, ಆ ಪಾತ್ರ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟತೆಯನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥೈಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ನಾನೊಬ್ಬ ವೈದ್ಯನಾಗಿದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಾಮಾಣಿಕ ವೈದ್ಯನಾಗಿ ಜೀವಿಸುವಂತ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಕೂಡ ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಂಡ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್. ನಾನೊಬ್ಬ ಲಾಯರ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಕೇವಲ ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಸಂಪಾದನೆ ಅಟ್ ಎನಿ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್, ಮೈ ಸರ್ವೈವಲ್ ಅಟ್ ಎನಿ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಭಾವಿಸದೆ, ಒಬ್ಬ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಒಬ್ಬ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ವೈದ್ಯನಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಒಬ್ಬ ಸನ್ಯಾಸಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಯಾವ ಪಾತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿನ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಜೀವನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಮುಖ್ಯ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯ ಪಾತ್ರವನ್ನ ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ನಾನು, ಕೇವಲ ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆ ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ, ನನ್ನ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆ ಅಳತೆಗೋಲೇನಾಗಬೇಕು, ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆಯೇ ನನ್ನ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆ ಅಳತೆಗೋಲಾಗಬೇಕು. So I must inform myself of myself, my capacities, and an understanding of society around me, and ask myself, how can this information, this enormous intellectual growth I need to express for the sake of this nation, can actually manifest. So it begins with information. It then goes to the level of engaging to express that information. And in this process of engagement, I feel enormously empowered, because I'm not taking anything, but I'm constantly depositing into the nation's account. ನಾವು ತಗೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥದ್ದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ತಗೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥದ್ದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಖಾತೆಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಬೇರೆ ತಗೊಂತಿದ್ರೆ ಖಾತೆ ಖಾಲಿ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ನನ್ನ ಪವಿತ್ರ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಖಾತೆಯನ್ನ ಖಾಲಿ ಮಾಡೋದಲ್ಲ, ಖಾತೆಯನ್ನ ತುಂಬಿಸುವುದು. ತಗೋಬೇಕು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಬದುಕಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ತಗೊಂಡು ನಾನು ಬದುಕ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕಿರಷ್ಟು ತಗೊಂಡು ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ತುಂಬಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದ್ರೆ, ಐ ಬಿಗಿನ್ ವಿತ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್, evolve to engage, become empowered, and that empowerment, the spirit of seva and tyaga, will make me enlightened. expressing my citizenship as a spiritual pursuit, as an extraordinary opportunity presented to me to express myself, where my internal nature evolves and expresses itself in the external world as serving humanity, the spirit of what seeing God in man. That is enlightened citizenship. Enlightened citizenship is something where we not only, Swamiji said it so beautifully, where to summarize and end my speech. He said, be and make. Bari make ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿತ್ತು ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಂಡ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಫಸ್ಟ್. ನಾನು ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಬೆಳೆಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್. ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಲರ್ನ್ ಟು ಬಿ. But I should not stop there. If I stop there, it's selfishness. Transcending learning to be and learning how to do, how to make is what makes me be and make. This is what Swamiji possibly wanted us to understand of this message. And that is what he wanted us to manifest in our behaviors, in our everyday expression of life itself. And if you take that call, and if you decide this being the 75th year of this extraordinary nation's post-independent history, we have had extraordinary history before that. Civilizationally, India is ageless, limitless in its expression. But in a political sense, we are 75 years old. We are a very young nation, and we are privileged that we have a very young population in our country. Remember, if every young Indian builds his capacities physically, emotionally, cognitively, and spiritually, and expresses those capacities in the service of public good, in the space of looking at the divinity in every person, transcending this demand of selfish requirements that he might have, going beyond it, finds expression in physical service, intellectual service, and then spiritual service, like Swamiji said, throws away these barriers of petty jealousy. Swamiji chanagi heltare, we should not get bogged down in this narrowness, and transcending it and just following the principle of be and make. Be good, do good. That is enlightened citizenship that we should all aspire for. And if we live that, India has got possibly the greatest future ahead of us. And I am confident with programs like this, with youngsters that are there in this audience, with people in universities talking about it, constantly thinking about it, with the nation coming together, we are at the cusp of this extraordinary change. This change cannot be material change alone. This change has to be deeply appreciated spiritual change. And the understanding of spirituality should come from the way Vivekananda described it. Spirituality cannot be some dry philosophy that we experience sitting in the caves of the Himalayas, but should be a lived experience, living amidst our people, feeling for them, thinking what I can do for them, and expressing itself as action. And that is the enlightened citizenship we all need to express, and that is what we should be. So I thank the university, thank the Vice Chancellor, thank the Ramakrishna Mission, and everybody connected with having invited me to be here and share my thoughts with all of you today. Thank you all so much. I'll be happy if there's any question and answer session after this that is planned. I will be happy to answer them. So, namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an enlightening thoughts on enlightened citizenship. As you said, building the capacity to rebuild the nation and be good, do good, be and make. So indeed, it's a thought to contemplate indeed. And now let us move on to the next segment of the day. A leader who is inspiring the entire university, our dear Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University, Professor P.S. Edapadithaya, sir. So I request him to address the gathering.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good evening to everyone. So I'm traveling, but still, I was carefully listening to Dr. Balasubramaniam's lecture. ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೈರ್ ಮಾಡೋದು. ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಇದು ಬರುವಾಗ 5 ಆಯಾಮಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಎಚ್ಚರಗೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಅಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ, ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುವಾಲಿಟಿ ಕೂಡ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುವಾಲಿಟಿ ಇಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ದ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ವಿ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಅನ್ಲೀಶ್ ಅವರ್ ಪೊಟೆನ್ಶಿಯಲ್ ವಿತ್ ಇನ್ ಎವರಿ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ so as to rise to the occasion and we can make things happen. So adiddu 5 ಆಯಾಮಗಳಂತಾರೆ: ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್, ಮೆಂಟಲ್, ಇಂಟೆಲೆಕ್ಚುವಲ್, ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುವಲ್ ವೆಲ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್. ಅದು ಬಹಳ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಸಾದ ಕಾರಣ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡೀ ಈ ಫೋಕಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಬಾಲಸುಬ್ರಹ್ಮಣ್ಯಂ ಅವರ ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕಂಡುಕೊಂಡದ್ದು ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ಶಿಪ್ ನ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಬಡಿದೆಬ್ಬಿಸಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಅಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂತಹ ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್ ಸಿರೀಸ್ ಬಹಳ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಂಥದ್ದು ಅನೇಕ ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್ಗಳು ಆಗ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಆಶಿಸ್ತಾ ನನ್ನ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಶುಭವಾಗ್ಲಿ. ಜೈ ಹಿಂದ್, ಜೈ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable feedback and appreciation. So now let us move on to the next segment, that is feedback and the interaction with the speaker. So we have some of the participants who requested early with us to talk with our speaker of the day. So now I request Father Joel Fernandez. He's the assistant professor of Father Joel, Jesuit priest from St. Aloysius College of Management. So I request Father Joel Fernandez to unmute himself and to speak. Yes,
dear sir. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, Father, please.
Yes. It was really inspiring talk. I really appreciate the initiative that is taken, and I really appreciate the speaker. He really spoke to the point, and he was very, very broad in his thinking. I appreciate, sir, your understanding of citizenship that you called us to follow, that have information, have that expression, and engage in enlightenment. I think very, very meaningful thoughts you are given. And as you said, we have a head to think and hands to work, and depends on us how to use it. And the beautiful thing that touched me a lot was like, stop asking what the country has done to you, and instead of ask what you have done to the country. I think there's a basic question for every one of us to reflect today as we reflect on the citizenship. Your message to the youth was very inspiring. You called everyone to be selfless. I think that's what is needed at this point of time. First of all, they should fulfill the responsibility that is there. They're called upon to fulfill at their homes. At the same time, you call them, give a call to serve the larger society. I think that is again a touching an inspirational message to the youth. As you said, concluded, be first, then make it. I think that is a message that everyone needs to follow. I appreciate your confidence that you have on the youth. My question to you, sir, is that now most of the time we say that youth are on the crossroads and they are at a confusion. Might be confusion due to various reasons. They study well and they don't get job. At the same time, the psychological, spiritual problems each youth goes through, I think is tremendous. And they can't express to everyone. They don't feel very, very confident to express. And at this moment of time, they struggle in their life. I think then they back up from doing great things to the society because they are at the crossroad and they're in a confusion level. So what is your message to these youth who are at the crossroad and finding their life very, very difficult?
Thank you so much for your kind words and appreciation and the question, Father Joel. In a very, if I were to answer you in a very succinct way, if education had played its proper role in molding young people, their comprehensive development, like I said, physical development, or ವ್ಯಾಸಗಳನ್ನ ಆಹಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರ ಎಕ್ಸಸೈಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಯೋಗ ಅಂತ ಸಣ್ಣ ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ, where we allow them to grow their body and next grow their minds, where education is given in the spirit of sparking of the understanding of the internal nature, giving them the ability to control their internal nature, ability to not just look at information running riot in their brains like Swami Vivekananda said, but a practical application of the information for the welfare of society. ಸಣ್ಣ ವಯಸ್ಸಿನಿಂದ ಆ ಥರದ ಭಾವನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಇವತ್ತು ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬೇಕಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಬೆಳೆಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಸರಿ ತಪ್ಪು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಪದ್ಧತಿ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಈ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಏನಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ನೀನು ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದ ಪ್ರಜೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಯಾರನ್ನೂ ಬೆಳೆಸೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ನೀನು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು, ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು, ದೊಡ್ಡ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅಲ್ಪ ಆಸೆಗಳನ್ನ ಹುಟ್ಟಿಸಿ ಬೆಳೆಸ್ತೇವೆ. ಒಂದು ವಿಶಾಲವಾದಂತ ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಡ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ಆಗುವಂತ ಬೆಳೆಸಲ್ಲ. ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಡ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಡ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಎನ್ಲೈಟೆಡ್ ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಹೈಯರ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್. ಬಟ್ ಆ ತರ ಬೆಳೆಸೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಸಣ್ಣ ಭಾವನೆಯಿಂದ ಬೆಳೆಸ್ತೀವಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಯುವಕರನ್ನ ನಾವು ಖಂಡಿಸ್ತೀವಿ, ಉಪಯೋಗಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಬೆಳೆದಾಗ. ಸೊ ಫಿಸಿಕಲಿ, emotionally, cognitively, and expressing spirituality as the inner discovery, the urge to know myself. Like Ramana Maharshi said, simplistically asking myself, who am I? And what does it mean to be an enlightened citizen? Living a life of self-inquiry is an extraordinary expression of spirituality. The way I have understood the Bhagavad Gita and Vivekananda is to simply live the life of personal self-inquiry, constant mindful awareness of self, and asking yourself questions related to yourself. If we had built the children like that, we would have equipped them, we would have empowered them, give them a toolbox to deal with life. Today, we have given them inadequate tools, and why are we blaming the person with the tools? The person who gave them the inadequate tools: parents, general society and community at large, schools and teachers. Unless you change the people of providing the tool set and the way to use the tools, unless you make them better, you can't blame the people of today. So ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಯುವಕರು accidentally enlightened citizens ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ, ಇಂಟೆನ್ಷನಲಿ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಂಟೆನ್ಷನಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಅವರು ತಯಾರಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶನ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಆದರ್ಶ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳೂ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆದರ್ಶ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಂದಿರೂ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆದರ್ಶವಾದಂತಹ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರು ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಗಳೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನೂ ಬದಲಾಯಿಸ್ತಾ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದಂತಹ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಅಡಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಯುವಕರು ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದ ಭಾರತದ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊತಾರೆ. ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ನೋ ಹೆಸಿಟೇಷನ್ ಇನ್ ಸೇಯಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್. ಸೊ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ನೆವರ್ ಸೇ ದ ಯೂತ್ ಆರ್ ಅನ್ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ಡ್. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ಡ್ because a generation before them has not invested in them. And if you change that from now onwards, I think that's the way I look at it, Father. Thank you so much.
Beautiful response, sir. Thank you so much.
Father Joel, can you please, now I request Dr. Ullas Rao, who is the Assistant Professor of Finance. He wrote What University, Dubai. So can you please unmute yourself and can you please talk with the speaker? I request Dr. Ullas Rao, Assistant Professor of Finance. He wrote What University, to speak. Now let us move.
You have to unmute him.
Yeah.
Please, sir.
Yeah. Many thanks, Dr. Balasubramaniam. I hope you're able to listen to me.
I can hear you.
Yeah. So, sir, I have a formal association with you because previously I was with the STM-IMD Mysore. So I've been following you since the STM-IMD days, and now I'm here in Dubai. So, sir, I'll start off, by saying or reminding the words of Swami Vivekananda, who once said, "A poor teacher complains, an average teacher explains, a good teacher teaches, and a great teacher inspires." I think we've always found a great teacher in you. And one adage that I've been myself personally following is "Arise, awake, and stop not until the goal is accomplished." Sir, I have a more a very interesting question for you. And so firstly, congratulations, for heading the National Committee Task Force, where our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, wants to transform every, Karamchari to a Karam Yogi. I think that's a brilliant concept. So, sir, I want to understand, if this were to be a reality, and, I think it would be a fitting tribute if 140 years, from 1893, the year, when Swami Vivekananda addressed the World Parliament in Chicago, that is in 2033, India were to become a developed country based on the parameters of Human Development Index and per capita income. So how would this, movement really help us in galvanizing to achieve that, very reputable stage, both, for the country, its citizens, and, most importantly, on the world platform as well. So how do we, bridge this gap from being a developing country to eventually becoming a developed country based on the principles of Swami Vivekananda? So your thoughts on that? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Balasubramaniam. And I put it one at a philosophical level and at another at an operational level. The how of it. The philosophical level is simply learning from our history. Look at India. From the time proper economic measurements could be tracked and traced and documented, one of the great economic historians, Angus Madison, actually did a study and looked at the growth of the world's countries, different countries, and captured it in a report called the World Economy, the Millennial Report of the World Economy, 2000 years of the world's economy he captured, post-Christ. And in that, his observations were, for the first 1600 years, the only country that kept on growing year on year, for 1600 years, not for 1 year, was India, the great nation Bharat. And if you look at all the human discoveries that we have credited for as a nation, whether it is zero, pi, binary system, right, trigonometry, calculus, algebra, understanding of metallurgy, chemical sciences, all that happened in 1600 years. Something changed after that. China and India, two great civilizations, between us were at 68% of the global GDP. 17th century, China overtook India. India was the largest, then we lost out. By the 18th century, both China and India lost out. By the time we got independence, less than 2% of the world GDP was ours. So instead of asking ourselves, and blaming the British, I think if you really understand Vivekananda and his message of positivism, let us explain, ask ourselves, how did we grow so much for 1600 years? And the simple secret is, philosophically, we were investing not on growing, we were investing on building a human and social capital. And that is what Swamiji said, be and make, grow human capital. He wanted the nation to build people. He said, make men first. Swamiji's call, building people was Swamiji's message. And that is the philosophical foundation on which our nation has to be built. And the expression of that could be skill development programs, could be national education policy, could be all that we're seeing today. And even the very work I have taken on, which the Honorable Prime Minister has given me, is building capacity of a generation of public servants, 2 crore government employees capacity is what we are mandated to build. And the vision of the Prime Minister is a new India as desired by Swami Vivekananda. Understanding the Indian civilization ethos. If we have to build that, we need a new generation of civil servants. They have to come from the same 2 crore people. And the only way is we can build their capacities with the Seva Bhav, the Swamiji's message of Tyaga and Seva. That is the underpinning message that the Prime Minister wants us to do. And yes, that programmatic expression could be, like I said, Startup India, Stand Up India. It could be Atmanirbhar Bharat. It could be a $5 trillion economy. They are all consequences. They are all products of this growth. And preparing the Indians to do that is what this 2 crore people's capacity has to be. And like what you said, the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita moving from the Karmachari to the Karma Yogi. And that is why it's called the Mission Karma Yogi. And I believe if we keep building capacities of people by expanding their human and social capital, the expression of it will be ease of living. Prime Minister keeps reminding us, how do we keep building in citizen-centric governance? How do you make the people's lives better? That is all his concern. It is the ease of living, along with becoming a $5 trillion economy, along with investing on people, creating that enormous number of universities which can respond to this demand, and building a new generation of civil servants who live this very noble idea of taking India to that new space, the new India that should arise. Swamiji's dream. The way we do it is a Jagat Guru for other nations. And that is what we hope to do, and that is the way I think forward. And I'm sure, I am very optimistic and positive. The same ecosystem and environment continues, 5 to 10 years, the change will be very evident. And I'm only happy that we are all living in a generation that this powerful message of Swami Vivekananda is getting expressed as actionable programs.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to Dr. Ullas Rao, Assistant Professor of Finance here at Govt University, Dubai. So next we have among with us is a creative teacher and a principal of Aishwarya International Public School, Madhur Mandya. So she has requested us, and Vindhya Bopana. Ma'am, can you please unmute yourself and turn on the camera? Hello. Ma'am, can you please unmute yourself? Yes, madam. Yes, can you please?
Yes.
Yes, madam.
Am I audible?
Yes, madam, very
Yes.
much.
Good evening, Dr. Balasubramaniam sir. Many thanks to the organizers for such an amazing session. This is the first time I had really got into the session, and I would not miss any of the sessions furthermore. Yes, after listening to Dr. Balasubramaniam, there are a lot of things to contemplate. Every citizen has to understand what is actual freedom, which should not only be in papers. In today's session, I was moved by the exemplary conviction in which you spoke, sir. I commend your conviction. Only the people who practice can preach it with so much confidence, is what I believe. So yes, it is time for us to proclaim that nobody has given us freedom. We took it ourselves. So this reminds me of one of Swami Vivekananda's quotes, that is, you have to grow from the inside out. No, none can teach you, none can make you spiritual. There is no other teacher but your own soul. So an enlightened citizen, sir, as you said, should mold us to be good and do good, and we have to have living examples. Thank you, sir. Sir, I just have a question to you. Can you please share a few tips to the schools, how schools can empower students in real and tangible ways to develop enlightened citizens?
That's a separate workshop by itself, Vindhya. If I had a message that I could give in 3 minutes, I would have won the Nobel Prize by now. I think simplest today, I would say, is to recognize the child as an embodiment of the divine spirit itself. Try not to educate a child. All that you need to do is create spaces for spaces of learning. You know, ancient India had a powerful message. We have forgotten it. It said, very nice Sanskrit Subhashita says, I'll give the English explanation. 25% of learning should come from a teacher. Today, teachers think that all 100% they have to give. And sometimes it's all crap and trash that they give and expect children to repeat it in the exams.
Absolutely.
Information provision should not be more than 25%. 25%, as Subhashita says, should be reflective, immersive understanding of the information provided. We must learn to reflect on the information. We don't teach our children how to reflect itself. 25%, we say, should come from peers, from your friends, the children of their age. We have trained our children to say education has to be hierarchical. ಯಾರೋ ದೊಡ್ಡವರು ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟನೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಅಂತ. ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಾತಾವರಣದಿಂದ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಲಿಬಹುದು, ಕುರಿ ನರಿ ನಾಯಿಯಿಂದ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಲಿಬಹುದು, ಬೇರೆ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರಿಂದ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಲಿಬಹುದು. So 25% has to be a process of getting it from the ecosystem and around us. And 25% is supposed to be experiential learning. What I experience, and the combination of this is what makes me an enlightened citizen. Just re-looking at our schooling system from this space and making us understand that education is an extraordinarily powerful opportunity bestowed on me as a privilege by this nation to take this nation forward, not just myself forward. ನಾನು ಮುಂದುವರಿಬೇಕು, ಬಟ್ ನಾನು ಮುಂದುವರಿಯೋದೇ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದ ಮುಂದುವರಿಕೆಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಭಾವನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳೆಸಿದ್ರೆ that is all the school has to do. schools have to be centers which creates this kind of a learning environment, a learning ecosystem where the individual expresses himself or herself in the completeness of serving society. If you do that much, I think you've done your jobs. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
sir.
so much, sir.
I know I've exceeded my time and
Yes, we are.
So I request Ranjan to let me go.
Yes, sure, sir, sure. Within a short while, Doctor, we have a lot of requests to interact with the speaker, but we are running out of time. So now I request all the speaker to reach Dr. R. Balasubramaniam, sir, through his website. www.drbalasubramaniam.com. So rbalu.com. You can reach there, and his amazing and inspiring, thought-provoking books are available on Amazon. Leadership lessons for daily living, and I, the Citizen, and Voice from the Grassroots, from the best-selling author, and Swami Vivekananda, I See Him. So those books are available. And once again, I'll repeat, drbalu.com. So it is available in Amazon. Books are available on Amazon. So let us move to the concluding part of the program. Now I request Doctor, among with us is, I recognize the presence of Pujya Swami Ekagamyananda Ji Maharaj. Swamiji, can you please give a two words at the end, please?
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಬಾಲು ಅವರೇ, ನಿಮಗೆ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು, ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳು. ತಾವು ಈ ಬ್ಯುಸಿ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ ನಡೆಯೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದು ಉದ್ದೇಶಿಸಿ ಮಾತನಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಭಾರತ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯ ಸಿಕ್ಕುವ 75ನೇ ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಲಿಡುವ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಒಂದು ಮಾತುಗಳು ತುಂಬಾ ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿದಾಯಕವಾಗಿತ್ತು ಮತ್ತು ಔಚಿತ್ಯಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಮತ್ತು ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದಾಚಾರ್ಯ ತಾವು ಹಿಂದೆ ಮೈಸೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಲೀಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತಹ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಕೂಡ ತಾವು ಆಗಾಗ ಬಂದು ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ಪೀಠ, ಮಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯ ಹಾಗೂ ಮಂಗಳೂರು ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣ ಮಠದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಕೂಡ ವಿನಂತಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಮತ್ತೊಂದ್ಸಲ ತಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಉದ್ದೇಶಿಸಿ ಮಾತನಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ನಾನು ಕೂಡ ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿದೆ, ತುಂಬಾ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೈರಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಹಿಂದೆ ಕೂಡ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
Thank you, Swamiji. So now I request Dr. Chandru Hegde, the coordinator of Swami Vivekananda Study Center, Mangalore University, to give a vote of thanks.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Good evening to everyone. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose vote of thanks on the occasion of Vivekavani lecture series, the 7th lecture today. On behalf of Swami Vivekananda Study Center, Mangalore University, and Ramakrishna Matha, Mangalore, first of all, my sincere thanks to Dr. R. Balasubramaniam for his inspiring talk on enlightened citizenship in the light of Vivekananda. Your thoughts have been enlightened. Thank you very much, sir. I express my sincere thanks to Ramakrishna Matha, Mangalore, for their support and to conduct every activity of Swami Vivekananda Study Center. A special thanks to Swami Ekagamyananda Ji for his guidance, and Shri Ranjan Bellarpadi and his team for excellent work and support to organize these Vivekavani lecture series programs. I thank Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor P. Subramania Paditaya and the Registrar Professor Kishore Kumar CK for their support and guidance. I also thank Professor Sripati Kaluraya, the convener of Swami Vivekananda Study Center, for his support and encouragement. I thank all the participants, especially the participants who have interacted. They have proposed very meaningful and important questions, and all the participants. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I recognize the presence of Dr. Narayana Shetty, is a principal of a reputed college, Bandakas College in Kundapur. And I also recognize the presence of Father Richard D'Souza. And they were all waiting to ask the question to the speaker, but we can reach through him through his website. So I recognize all the principals and the faculty coordinators from various colleges, particularly the SDM IT College, SDM BA College, and this Nivedita Badaga team, and Kalladka PU College, and Vivekananda BA College, and NITE Physiotherapy, and SDM MBA in Mangalore. So along with all the representatives and the citizens of Mangalore who are actively participated in this session. Till now, about 256 participants, totally they participated in the session. Till now, we have around 154 people actively they are listening to this session. And this session is available on the YouTube, in the two channel, Mangalore Mutt, in the YouTube channel Ramakrishna Mutt Mangalore, and in the Swami Vivekananda Study Center YouTube channels. So this talk you can get access, and you can hear to Dr. R. Balasubramaniam furthermore in YouTube channel and through his website drrbalu.com. So thank you so much for hearing to us. Personal thanks to Dr. R. Balasubramaniam, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks.